I was halfway through my Monday coffee, burnt as usual, sipping from the same chipped thermos I've had since '09, when Blake opened his mouth. No more international business class boondoggles on my watch. That was the first thing out of his mouth in the strategy meeting. Not good morning, not let's get started, just that. The whole room froze. Phones lowered, laptops stopped clicking. I looked up over the rim of my thermos and caught that smirk, the one that said, "I just figured out how to connect a printer all by myself." Quick note, before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. My name's Rick. I'm 52. I live in Silver Spring, Maryland. I've worked in compliance for almost 2 decades. Berlin was my annual run, 17 years in a row. Not for fun, not to drink beer or tour cathedrals, for licenses, for renewals, for the crap that keeps our EQ operation from getting hit with 6-figure fines. But Blake, he called it a luxury junket. He'd been there, 2 weeks? Fresh out of whatever overpriced MBA farm he got shipped in from, with shiny PowerPoints and the confidence of a guy who'd never had to fill out a customs form in his life. I didn't say anything dramatic, just one word. Okay, that's it. Didn't argue, didn't defend. I looked him dead in the face, gave a single nod, and marked the date in my head. That was the moment I stepped off the train and let the wreck start rolling. The meeting moved on. Lots of nodding from people who didn't understand half the crap he was saying. But I was already pulling up my flight reservation under the table. Canceled it. Then I forwarded the compliance packet, the deadlines, and every German contact to Carly, his 24-year-old assistant who still didn't know how to collapse a Slack thread. CC'd him on all of it. No commentary, no emojis, just facts. Then I leaned back in my chair, opened my file backups, and started duplicating everything to an external drive. Let the man run his show. Let's see how long he lasts. The next 2 weeks were a blur of buzzwords and dry erase markers. Blake strutted into every meeting like he was hosting a TED Talk. Agile compliance, he said, circling the phrase on a whiteboard like it meant something. Team syncs, flexible workflows, cross-functional accountability. He even printed posters. One had a target with the words, "Cut fat, not firepower." That one made it onto the break room fridge, right between the vending machine refund instructions and the HR birthday calendar. Every time he spoke, his eyes landed on me. "Some of us," he said once, smiling that smug middle manager smile, "are a little too comfy with the old ways." I didn't flinch, just flipped my notebook closed and nodded like I was agreeing. But inside, I'd already opened a folder on my desktop labeled Insurance. Emails, Slack threads, even voice memos. If he said it, I saved it. If he typed it, I had it time-stamped. Then came Carly. I handed her the Berlin license renewal package. Printed copy. PDF version. Tracker sheet. Color-coded deadlines. Everything a halfway competent assistant could need. She opened the email, never replied. Never asked a single question. June 17th was on every page. I even bolded it in red. That deadline wasn't a joke. It was a hard stop. Every year I sat face-to-face with the German regulators in some freezing conference room in Berlin. No small talk, no grace period. You miss the filing date, your license locks. Shipments stall, customs steps in, fines hit instantly. But this year, I wasn't going. I was delegated. That was the word Blake used. "Rick, let's delegate this one." Like we were handing off dry cleaning, not legal certification for a billion-dollar supply chain. So I leaned back in my cubicle and peeled the red sticker from its sheet. June 17th, stuck it dead center on my monitor. Not as a reminder, as a tombstone. Because legally, I wasn't supposed to handle it anymore. Carly had questions, useless ones. "Do I need a login for this German portal thing?" she asked once, spinning in her chair like she was waiting for an iced latte. "You'll need a tax key and the validation tokens," I said. "What's a token?" I didn't answer. She was in over her head, and I think deep down she knew it. But Blake had crowned her the fresh face of compliance, so she played along. Took notes on pastel-colored stationery and held sync meetings where nothing got done. Meanwhile, Blake kept performing for the executive team. Threw around acronyms like he invented them. Kept saying things like, "We're building scalable resilience," and "Let's sunset legacy thinking." Legacy thinking. That's what he called 17 years of zero fines and flawless audits. I knew what was coming, watched it unfold day by day. I'd walk past Carly's desk, see the unopened file still sitting in her inbox like a forgotten lunch order. Each morning, I tap my phone, check the calendar, and sip my tea. June 17th got closer. 1 week, then 5 days, then 3. The red sticker on my monitor looked brighter somehow, like it was glowing. They weren't going to make it. I knew that in my bones. Carly's desk stayed empty all week. She was off in Costa Rica at some digital detox yoga retreat. That Monday, I saw it. The German sent a final reminder. Subject line in all caps. Actions required. License expiration warning. I stared at it for maybe 5 seconds, hovered over the forward button, thought about sending it to Blake. Hell, I even imagined myself walking into his office, dropping it on his desk like a grenade. But I didn't. I wasn't authorized. His words, not mine. Instead, I made backups. 2 USB drives, one labeled Company Archive, the other with my initials, tucked under the flap of my wallet. I ran both through virus checks, encrypted the folders, triple-checked the version history. Then I slid them into my locked drawer and headed to lunch like it was any other Thursday. Turkey sandwich, green tea, sat at my usual table by the window. People came and went. I just watched, not a gloat, not even a smirk, just quiet. They had no idea the trap they had built for themselves. 3 days after the deadline, the Berlin team finally reached out. Simple message, URGENT, licensing portal inaccessible. Customs holding shipments. And that was it. Showtime. Blake came stomping down the hallway an hour later, loud enough to rattle desk pens. Anyone else having browser issues? He asked, waving his phone around. I think the Germans updated the portal or something. I didn't look up, didn't offer help. He called IT, blamed our VPN, blamed German firewalls. At one point I heard him say, just clear the cache. It's probably a cookie conflict. I nearly laughed. Nearly. By Tuesday, panic started dripping through the cracks. Logistics flagged delays. Clients asked questions. Berlin sent a second message, this one less polite. License expired, portal locked, all EU shipments detained. Blake's face was gray in the morning meeting. He stood in front of the screen pointing at a useless flowchart, talking about pivot strategies. No one asked questions. That afternoon, I printed a fresh copy of the compliance manual, the real one, the one I wrote over 15 years. It was 412 pages, laminated tabs, signed revisions, backups on file. I placed it on my desk. Didn't hand it over, didn't offer it, just let it sit there like a loaded weapon. By Thursday, 3 different managers had pinged Carly, no answer. She was still posing on Instagram with palm trees and green smoothies. That evening, I stayed a little late, not to fix anything, just to watch. The Slack channels were pure chaos. Berlin team tagging everyone they could. Someone even tagged me with a question about customs documentation. I didn't reply. I clicked out of the window and powered down. Let it burn. Friday morning started dead quiet. Too quiet. Even Slack was slower than usual, like everyone was holding their breath, waiting for someone else to screw up first. Then the flood started. Hamburg was the first to go dark. No access to order systems. Phone lines jammed. Then Warsaw flagged. CRM offline. Full blackout. The message came in from Germany. Fines initiated. 100,000 euros per day. No appeal, no extensions. We were 3 days deep. 300 grand already, and it was only climbing. Blake finally cracked. He stormed through the floor around 10, shouting into his headset. Why didn't Berlin notify us earlier? He pointed at his laptop like it owed him an explanation. They did, someone said from 2 desks down. He spun around. What? They sent 2 emails. One was marked urgent, Blake blinked. Who'd they send it to? Carly. Silence, then he pivoted. It must have rerouted something. Or the emails got buried. I'll check with infrastructure. And Berlin. We need a fix. We need escalation. He was spinning, hard. Every sentence was a new excuse. VPN issues, time zone confusion, unclear expectations from foreign regulators. But it wasn't working. Even the interns stopped pretending to take notes. Then it happened. He looked up, eyes glassy, hands twitching over his mouse, and said, "Can someone check with... what's her name again?" Didn't even bother pretending to know Carly's name. She messaged me at 10:42 a.m. "Blake needs help with the license issue. Can you jump in?" No greeting, no punctuation, no apology. I didn't type a single word. Just pulled up the email Blake sent me 4 weeks ago. The one where he said, "Let's delegate Berlin to Carly. Fresh eyes on old processes." Forwarded it straight to Carly. C.D. Blake. Nothing else? No subject, no commentary. His own words, his own signature. The first visible crack. A few minutes later, I heard his door slam. Not just shut, slammed hard enough that one of the ceiling tiles vibrated. A coffee mug fell off someone's desk across the hall. I kept typing, didn't flinch. By noon, 14 different messages had come in. Team leads, compliance analysts, even a sales manager from Prague I hadn't spoken to in 2 years. "Hey, Rick, do you know what's going on with the EU license? Can you confirm whether we're locked out permanently? Blake said you might have insight. Please advise." I didn't respond, not one word, because I knew what they were all feeling. That deep rising panic when you realize the grown-up in the room isn't actually a grown-up. Blake had bluffed his way into the fire, and now he was melting. I took my time with lunch, soup and crackers in the break room, same as always. Couple coworkers came in and gave me that look, the one people give a guy who just watched a bus crash and walked away clean. They didn't ask anything out loud, just kept their heads down. By mid-afternoon, I saw Blake walk into HR. His tie was loosened, his eyes red. Didn't say a word to anyone on the way in. When he came back out, he didn't look up, just walked straight to his office and closed the door without a sound. I opened my drawer. The laminated compliance binder was still there. Monday morning came in like nothing happened. Execs shuffling into the boardroom with their usual coffees and half smiles, talking about fantasy football and weekend wine tastings. Blake was already standing at the front of the room, sleeves rolled, laptop plugged in. The projector blinked to life with a PowerPoint slide titled Q2 Optimization Wins. Right there, in bold, was a bullet that read, "International travel reduction, projected savings, 42,000 euros. Next to it, a little airplane icon with a red X through it. Somebody chuckled. Another one clapped. "Berlin was a legacy expense," Blake said. "We've modernized the process. No more unnecessary flights. No more wasted budget." I sipped my coffee. Bitter, lukewarm, same chipped thermos. My phone sat face up next to it. Countdown screen still running. 13 days past deadline. That's when the receptionist cracked the door open and stepped in, holding a large white courier envelope. "Sorry to interrupt," she said. "This just came in. Marked urgent." From Germany. The CEO took it without a word, tore the tab, pulled out the papers. Thick stack. Official seal stamped across the top. His eyes scanned the first page, then the second. The room shifted. You could feel it. No more jokes, no more smirking. He read the top line out loud. Total penalty accrued as of July 1st, 2.1 million euros. Nobody moved, nobody breathed. Then he asked the question, voice even, eyes locked on Blake. Who was responsible for this renewal? Blake cleared his throat, adjusting his collar like it was suddenly choking him. "It was delegated," he said. "Streamlined process. We had redundancies in place. Carly was handling the actual execution." I slid my laptop forward, turned it around so the CEO could see the screen. One click, timeline, another, delegation memo, then the audit trail. Every email, every handoff, Slack logs, Outlook threads, each one dated, each one signed, Blake's name all over them, no commentary, no explanation, just receipts. The CEO looked at me, then back at Blake. "You delegated the license renewal to a junior assistant on vacation?" She had the support," Blake stammered. I raised my hand once, calm, flat. "Not authorized to act." Per his instructions, silence. The CEO turned back to the envelope, flipped another page, muttered something under his breath. No one touched their coffee after that. One of the VPs leaned back in his chair and rubbed his face. Another shut his laptop, like the meeting was already over. Blake stayed standing, frozen, sweating through his dress shirt. The CEO didn't yell, didn't cuss, just stared through him like he was already gone. "We'll handle this internally," he said. Meeting adjourned. Everyone stood up slow, like getting out of a funeral pew. Chairs squeaked. Nobody made eye contact. I closed my laptop, wiped the screen with my sleeve, walked out without a word. Blake didn't show up for the Tuesday meeting. Instead, just before 9, the CEO came up to our floor himself. No assistant, no announcement. Walked straight into Blake's office. Door shut. 10 minutes later, it opened again. Blake came out holding a cardboard box, like he'd forgotten how his arms worked. His blazer was off, shirt untucked, eyes empty. The CEO followed him out and said, calm as a surgeon, "Leave your badge with reception." That was it. No grand speech, no finger pointing, no raised voices. Blake didn't argue. He just stood there for a second, looking around the floor like he expected someone to save him. No one moved. He walked toward the elevator slow, dragging his feet like the hallway was a mile long. The last thing he packed was that stupid ceramic mug, the one with "Innovate or Evaporate" printed in bold letters. He held it like it meant something. It didn't. Carly wasn't in that day. Word was, HR told her to work from home until further notice. They called it administrative leave. Everyone else called it done. I sat back down at my desk, checked my inbox. 4 new emails, all forwarded threads from legal. Subject lines full of words like mitigation and liability review. One message from the board liaison hit my screen. "We're launching a full audit on EU operations. Need your input this week." My phone buzzed 3 times. Voicemails from directors who hadn't spoken to me since Blake's welcome lunch. Too late. The board didn't dance around it. They called it what it was, an avoidable failure caused by arrogance, inexperience, and complete ignorance of the systems that kept the place running. Blake came in hot, treated the company like a broken vending machine, punched the buttons out of order, and acted surprised when the snacks didn't drop. I never said, "I told you so." Didn't need to. The paper trail spoke louder than I ever could. I opened my drawer, reached past the encrypted drives, and pulled out the last folder I hadn't touched. Full license history, backup audits, contact sheets, every version of the EU compliance manual I'd ever revised. I didn't submit it. Around 3:45, the CEO's assistant walked over, quiet and uncomfortable. "He'd like to see you," she said. I didn't ask why. I grabbed the folder from my desk, the one I'd placed that morning, and walked down the hallway. Same walls, same framed buzzword posters Blake had ordered last month. Adapt to survive. The irony was thick enough to choke on. His door was already open. He was sitting behind his desk, tie off, sleeves rolled, rubbing his temple like the migraine had finally landed. "Come in," he said, voice low. No swagger, just tired. I stepped inside, didn't sit. He looked up at me. "We can't undo this." I said nothing. "But we can fix it." With your help, he slid a folder across the desk. Thick one, top page, new title, next page, pay increase. Page after that, full reinstatement of my previous authority. Access, approvals, discretionary travel, direct reports. Everything I'd asked for 6 months ago. I didn't touch it, just opened my own folder, pulled out one envelope, placed it gently on the desk in front of him, signed, dated, notarized. His eyes flicked down. He didn't reach for it, just stared. "You're resigning." "I am." He leaned back, stared at the ceiling for a second, like he was trying to stop the room from spinning. "I'm sorry it came to this." I looked him dead in the eye. "I'm not," I said. "I'm sorry it cost you." He didn't argue, didn't ask me to reconsider. He knew better. I turned and walked out. No long speech, no dramatic pause at the door. Just grabbed my mug, my folders, and one USB drive from the drawer, the one labeled personal insurance. I didn't leave the folder with the compliance records. Let them find it on their own, if they were smart. At the airport, I didn't wait at gate 32 with the rest of the herd. I walked straight to first class. No carry-on, no laptop bag, just one small suitcase and the kind of silence you earn. Berlin wasn't about compliance this time. Not about licenses or tax keys or early morning meetings with humorless bureaucrats. This one was for me. They thought I was done, Obsolete, a relic. But when the system cracked, it cracked exactly where I told them it would, and I didn't lift a finger. Somewhere back in that office, they were probably staring at another notice from Germany, probably realizing the fines had crossed 2.5 million euros, probably realizing they still couldn't log into the portal. I sipped champagne at 30,000 feet. No emails, no Slack, no status checks. Just peace. When I landed, I took the taxi slow through the city. Same roads I used to rush down in the back of a van with a binder in my lap, running late to keep their supply chain alive. Now? I stopped at a corner cafe, ordered an espresso, sat outside and watched the people walk past, like I had all the time in the world. Because now I did. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't bitter. I was just done. Maybe revenge isn't fire. They didn't need me, remember? They had posters, buzzwords, fresh talent. But when it all fell apart, they finally saw it. Saw what I'd been holding together with duct tape and discipline for almost 20 years. And now they know. Somewhere in that office, someone's probably digging through old drives trying to rebuild the system I made bulletproof, trying to piece together a process they never bothered to learn. Let them try. I'm not coming back. I already gave them everything they needed. They just didn't bother to open the file.